Albert Einstein defines a man of value as someone whose drive and standards of behavior are meant to better himself and everyone around him. So when I think of a man of value, I think of a leader. I think of someone who's resilient, but I also think of someone who's willing to take on more than what most are. A lot of people will think that they're not ready or they're not even capable of taking on some responsibility, but a man of value is going to step up whether they're ready or not. The sad part about becoming a man of value these days is that it's not most people's first option. There are easier ways to get instant gratification and hits of dopamine, but to become a man of value takes years and years of hard work and doing the same things over and over and over. So in this video, I've got 7 ways where you can become a man of value. Number 1, lead with a solution. So I started this list off with lead with a solution because most people are so concerned about the problem itself. When a man of value approaches a situation, they recognize what's going on and immediately start to think, how can I resolve this? How can I get through this? How can I overcome this? You start to create this new perception of yourself. People start to look at you as a leader or someone who's an innovative thinker. This way of thinking is actually prevalent amongst different leaders in different industries, and it's really what separates them. I was reading the book Extreme Ownership a while back, and Leif Babin and Jocko Willink talk about what it takes to be a leader and some of the characteristics. And in that book, they mention there are no bad teams, just bad leaders. Leaders must accept total responsibility, own problems that inhibit performance, and develop solutions to those problems. And now the second way to become a man of value is to develop strong emotional intelligence. Now, when it comes to strong emotional intelligence, it requires you to be aware of your emotions and then control those emotions. When I'm talking about being aware, I'm talking about recognizing the feeling that you get when you're irritated, you're pissed, you're sad, you're happy, recognizing those emotions. Once you are aware of those, then you can start to control them and control your response. To control your response, all I'm talking about is your reaction to the emotion. So once you have a good grasp on being aware of your emotions and being able to control them, then you can start to use that within your relationships with things like good judgment, common sense, but also being empathetic. So let me give you a quick overview on how to be aware of and how to control your emotions, because if you can't do those things, you can't really move forward. So when you get these immediate emotions, happiness, sadness, anger, anything like that, you can start to process those by just taking the time that you immediately feel the emotion and then just sitting in it for a moment. If you need to walk away from the situation, like one that you're irritated in or you feel extremely sad, walk away, distance yourself from reacting emotionally. Take the time to go through what you're processing, what you're feeling, why you're feeling it. All these questions impact how you will respond. Otherwise, if you don't process these things, you'll react in a way that you might regret later. And as a man of value, you don't want to be reacting emotionally. Emotional decisions usually lead to bad decisions. Now, the good thing about this time to process these emotions, if you take the time and really work through them on the front end, as you get more aware of this process and better at it, it starts to decrease. You can start to process it on the spot and react in more of a positive way. So those are your immediate emotions. The ones that are a little bit more tough is when we're dealing with intuition. Now, intuition is that subconscious feeling that something good's about to happen, or on the contrary, something bad is about to happen, or something bad is going on. I'll give you an example to tie it all together. The emotion that you get through your significant other, and maybe they have something going on, and you ask them, hey, is something wrong? And they just immediately respond with, nope, everything's good. You still have that feeling, something just seems off, something doesn't feel right. Well, you have 2 directions you could possibly go. You could continue picking at the problem and reacting off emotions, which leads to a bad outcome. It probably leads to a fight or an argument. Or the approach that a man of value would take, let the other person go through their process, let them know that you're there for them, and if they want to talk, you're available, but don't pick at the situation. If you want to have these positive outcomes when it comes to your conversations with people or your interactions, you first got to become aware of your emotions. You've got to control those. And then you can use that knowledge to be empathetic with who you're talking with. But if you don't even have your own emotions in check, don't expect the conversations and your interactions with those people close to you to always end in a productive way. And now, the third way to become a man of value is to master mental health. So, we just talked about how to become aware of your emotions and how to control those emotions, and how your reaction to those emotions have an effect on the people around you and your relationships. When they see you have these positive reactions, they start to feel a little bit more safe around you and more comfortable. So, they open up to you a little bit. They start to instinctively know that you have their best interests in mind and it's a safe space to talk with you. But as a man of value, you're going to want to make sure that you pay attention to your own mental health, your own mental sanity. The thing about it is, a man of value is so reliable in so many different ways, from a physical standpoint, a financial standpoint, but also psychologically. It's pretty obvious that this is where men struggle most, is that psychological standpoint. As a man of value, you're going to find that you take on more than you ask for sometimes. When, a major event happens in your life or someone's life around you, they're going to look to you for resolution. They're going to look to you for that solid stability. That means you're going to have to be prepared with a clear mind. You create that mental space with deep breathing and meditation, but you create that mental clarity with deep work on yourself and your goals. When you get this mental clarity, you'll start to develop this entirely new outlook on life. You'll start to see that a lot of the things around you, especially on social media and things like that, they're meant to rattle you mentally. You'll realize all of this is meant to distract you, but it won't. You'll start to subconsciously realize that when you become distracted, you start to lose control of your emotions. When you lose control of your emotions, you start to make low quality decisions. Just think about this. Mentally healthy men do not respond to distractions. So if you want to really master your mental health, you're going to have to be bored. I'm not telling you to just stare at the wall and do nothing, but instead, that impulse that you get when you want to pick up your phone and just start scrolling, stop yourself before picking your phone up and just sit in the moment for a minute and just be in your thoughts. It's this mental space between the thoughts that you gain some clarity. That's why the most mentally balanced men in the world, they don't crack under pressure. They don't break when it looks like their entire life is falling apart around them, and they don't fold when things get tough. They just respond by making quick and educated decisions. It's not that they don't feel the emotion or the pain associated with some of these bad feelings that they get. They do. But they've learned to become aware of them, control them, and realize that they just pass through. It's not what defines them. The fourth way to become a man of value is to master authenticity. It's who you are when nobody's watching. The scary part about it is that you're not sure if anybody's going to like this version of you because nobody sees it. For example, are you the type of guy that pisses on the toilet seat and leaves it? Or are you the guy who sees trash on the ground and you leave that too? Or do you try to make your environment better because you realize that it impacts you as well as those around you? For a really long time, I always cared what people thought of me. I always thought, if so-and-so doesn't like me, then I must be doing something wrong. What I realized in doing this is that if you don't define what you stand for, you'll always have this people-pleasing mentality. Ultimately, you'll run yourself into the ground and you'll have nothing to show for it. That's exactly what I did. So I tried to appeal to the masses, and what I ended up doing is not showing any depth. I just kind of had this surface level type of approach where I didn't let anyone in because I was too concerned about what people thought of me. Now, even to this day, I still go through that to some extent, but it's nothing like it used to be. What I've learned in defining what I stand for and living by a certain code is that I'm just not going to be for everyone. I want to encourage you to define what you stand for, and really that's for one main reason. It's to determine the intent behind your actions. If some people don't like you and it's because you're a dick, then you're obviously the problem. But if somebody doesn't like you because you define what you stand for, you live by a certain standard, and behind all that, your intent is good, they just aren't a good fit for you. Throughout the years, I've made a ton of great relationships, and this is both personally and in business. But in all those relationships, they've eventually reached this point. They've reached this point where I've had to determine, do I want to define what I stand for in fear of this person potentially not liking me anymore? These people that you have a relationship with, they're going to have to make a choice. They'll either agree with the standards that you set and you can cohesively work together to build each other up, or they won't agree, and that's likely where the relationship will take a turn. But to some extent, you can still have relationships with these people, even if they don't fully agree with you. There are some times, though, that it'll rub people the wrong way. And don't be surprised if you come off as very intense to them because you live by a certain standard, because most people don't. Most people haven't defined what they stand for, or they just don't stand for anything at all. So it's going to bother them. You won't be for everyone. Define what you stand for and live by it. The fifth way to become a man of value is to think in years. One of the easiest ways to become a man of value is to start to think in the long-term time frame. I mean, today the eyes of the masses, they're on how to do things quick. How can I become an overnight expert? When people go on and find a new skill or interest, they think about, man, where will I be in 3 months if I start to learn this skill? But I want to encourage you to start thinking, man, where will I be in 3 years when I have a great understanding of this skill and I can actually master it? What is the potential of what I could do with this? If you can shift your thinking into this longer term time frame, you do two things. First, you remove that pressure of having to master something in such a short amount of time. You can actually go deep into the subject and learn things that most people don't know about it. The thing about staying surface level is that everyone can get a general understanding with something, but to be a real man of value, it requires depth. And the second thing you're going to do is you're going to learn way more about yourself. In a recent article from the University of Alabama, Birmingham, they mentioned that only 8% of people stick to their New Year's resolutions. When you commit to something like that, you do something that 90% of the population doesn't even do. Immediately, you start to differentiate yourself. Remember, in a world full of noise, take action fast. But the longevity of your success depends on your view of the long term. The sixth way to become a man of value is to be concise and learn to listen. People don't respond to those that just live to hear their opinion, but people also don't listen to those that don't listen to them. There's a scenario in sales that you can sell your way out of the close, and it's because people talk too much. Being a man of value requires you to pack more punch with what you say, and to say it as concisely as possible. Really, the less you say, the more you'll leave others resonating. Whether it's in sales, your relationships, comprehending what someone is saying, that's going to change your life and elevate it in an entirely different way. Sales only works if you solve that need for the customer. Your relationships only succeed if both people feel heard. If you can learn to listen, you don't have to worry about being concise. It just happens naturally. You already know what to say because you listened. Now, the seventh way to become a man of value is to question everything. Now, I left this one for last because it really differentiates a man of value from just the everyman. I mentioned that as a man of value, you're a leader. And one of the responsibilities of a leader is to question everything. If something has been done for a long time and it's been done the same way over and over and over again, why? Is that the best and most efficient way of doing it? Or did everyone else just give in to the former leader and just assume that's the way it was because they didn't want to think creatively or think critically? Even if something's correct, question how the problem solver gets there. That's how you learn. That's how you learn the process of solving problems. But just remember, when I say question everything, I'm not implying that everything around you is wrong. What I'm trying to do here is trying to spark some creative thinking, some critical thinking. You know, a big issue in people's lives when they get to this point where they have gotten too comfortable, it's because they've stopped questioning things. When people settle, it's because they've stopped demanding a certain standard of themselves. I do want to mention, though, that when you question things and you question people, you can do this in a productive way and not come off as a jerk. First, you've got to put yourself in the shoes of the person being questioned. It's likely that they're going to feel attacked, they're going to feel challenged, but you have to frame it in a way that doesn't come off as an attack. You have to come off in the way that you're the student, because that's really the reason why we're even questioning things, is out of genuine curiosity, not to prove someone wrong or any BS like that. Believe it or not, there is a difference in questioning someone because you're being a jerk and actually questioning them out of genuine curiosity. So when you ask these questions, approach that person as if they are the expert and they have the knowledge and you're just seeking to learn. Look, over the years, I've done a lot of work on myself. And the reason why I continuously do that is because I never think we're a finished product. I think there's always something for us to learn, always a skill for us to acquire, and ultimately to pass that on to those that we cross paths with. The world needs more men of value, more women of value. The world is going through a tough time right now, and a lot of people have lost their identity. They don't know where to go. They need a leader to turn to. They need a man of value to lead them. But you got to know that if you're going to become a man of value, you're not going to do so without taking heat. People are going to challenge you. They're going to beat you up for it. They're going to push their own agenda on you. But that's part of putting yourself out there and becoming a leader. I always say, be the leader that you would want to follow. Be that person that you wanted to follow when you were a kid. You never know who's looking up to you.